Hey guys, I know this is different from what I usually post if you haven't heard me say that 3 million times, but after seeing the events of Chapter 1, I have to make this a video. It's been clouding my mind since 2021, and I literally can't stop thinking about it. I want to go over what each Ultimate's animal symbolism is, how every symbol could be interpreted, as well as how it could play in future chapters or how it's already played. These won't be in any particular order, but I'll begin with the most relevant characters of Chapter 1. There will be spoilers, so be wary. And I'm not going to be diving into everything about every free time event, only relevant things. I will be linking the channels in the description based on whoever's footage I use because I cannot install the game on my computer. And let's get into it. Damon the Snake. Damon's tie, and consequently animal, is a snake. In some sources, snakes can symbolize disgust and fear. They can also mean the divide between good, evil, and sin. I'm also not too well versed in the Bible, despite being somewhat of a Christian partially, but snakes do, to some degree, represent the original sin in some ways, as well as wisdom. It would also explain why he holds the apple the way he does in the intro cutscene, turning back to the whole Garden of Eden sub-themes and the first sin in general. For this reason, I believe that he is the closest to biblical themes. As for how his character has played out so far, Damon portrays himself as above others due to the way he thinks, and constantly becomes angered when others act naive during the state of the killing game. He also withholds information, which both of those concepts could be his duality of evil. After getting comfortable around Kai and speaking with Ingrid from time to time, with the inclusion of his respect for Wolfgang after his death, it pushed out his duality of good. Damon's character is constantly developing, as well as how often he is ego-checked. Also, snakes are very slick, literally and figuratively. Kai, the butterfly. Kai's animal is the butterfly, which automatically brings the butterfly effect into mind. I saw a comment about this on one video and it clicked in my mind the moment I saw it. The butterfly effect occurs when one simple small change can create unpredictable, immense changes after the fact, over a period of time. We also know that Kai doesn't understand the gravity of his choices until after the fact, and that shows in Damon's monologue, during Kai's free time events. As for the butterfly effect itself, we see that in him when it's revealed that he is the originator of the Stella Donna syndrome aesthetic, which earned him his ultimate influencer title. And putting Damon in the first bracket of the gaming tournament, which not only gave Damon an undeniable alibi, but prevented him from being accused of Wolfgang's murder when everyone found out that the killer was involved in the tournament. A lot of words, I know, that's the only way I can explain it without watering down any information. On multiple sources, butterflies also symbolize transformation, change, and hope. Kai provides all of these things to Damon, himself, and even Ava. Changes Damon's views of lives during the killing game. Gives Damon hope throughout multiple events relevant to the case or not. Kai himself hopes more for peaceful outcomes in the game. And Kai changes multiple people's outcomes and alibis by simply being there. Some may see him as ship bait on the surface, but Kai's character himself is seriously underappreciated in my opinion. At first I thought he was going to be really annoying, but the writers did a fantastic job of saying otherwise. He is more than Kaimon. He is more than Kaimon. I will preach that to the end. And I could see his presence, or lack thereof, being just as impacting as Wolfgang's death, if not more. Speaking of, we have Wolfgang, whose symbolism is the sheep. Side note, I predicted it. I called it that Wolfgang would die all the way back in 2021. All the way back. And my suspicions were only confirmed in the release of the prologue. Lock in. Sheeps, from a Bible standpoint, symbolize followers of Christ and innocence in general, which I didn't put in the script, but you could connect that to him trying to make everybody else sheep, followers of Christ, or followers of holding morality and humanity during the killing game. Aside from that, they also symbolize innocence in general, Bible or not. With this in mind, they also embody purity, aka his moral grounding. Wolfgang's mannerisms and talent alone showcase these ideas, primarily his heavy moral ground persona and him attempting to be a beacon of example for the young and old in the cast. It also will explain his behaviors moments before death and his blackmail. The blackmail that David got. In PEG, of course, I don't want YouTube to be me. But with justice comes greed, which brings me to my next symbol. Sacrifice. Every time I peek at Wolfgang's character, I couldn't stop thinking about the lamb to the slaughter allegory. By getting killed by Ava, he not only sacrificed himself, but made Ava sacrifice her chance at living a life she deserved, quote unquote, when being targeted by the traitor perk. Like a lamb to the slaughter. Ava lying to Damon as a way to obtain and purposefully encourage him to withhold it, pushed Damon to trust her despite making it evident that he distrusts others, and using it for her own game, aka Ava used it for her own game, like a lamb to the slaughter. If Wolfgang's character had not died then and there in chapter 1, there is no telling how the trial could have played out. Like Ava mentioned after the conclusion of the trial, she would have died no matter what. Like, it's inevitable. If she didn't kill Wolfgang, he would have used his talent and distrust of her to boot her out, consequently killing everyone. If she didn't kill at all, she would have died to adhere to the traitor perk's conditions, because Tozu purposefully targeted her with the traitor perk by the Tozu plush sign. If she never took the traitor perk in the first place, everybody would have framed her anyway, no matter what, and she would have been put as a Blackian and everybody died but the actual Blackian. These sacrifices were necessary to push reform on others, which brings me to my next character, Diana, the chameleon. Diana's animal is the chameleon, which uses its amazing camouflage as a key method of survival. I personally remember this animal from Wonder Pets. One easy interpretation, which I honestly forgot even existed, is the chameleon effect. The chameleon effect in psychology is when a person's non-conscious behaviors, expressions, and mannerisms mimic one of another peers, or mutuals, depending. With her being the second youngest at 17, this is honestly no surprise. Children take the ideas and mannerisms of those they look up to all the time. At the end of the trial, Diana raises her fist and says, "Like a chameleon, I will adapt." Diana is using Wolfgang's example as a way to live on, as for a sense of purpose, or at least carry his wishes. Her saying what she did is what confirmed me that the animal symbolism plays a heavy role in character development, and it's what encouraged me to make this video. As for her trying to escape the boiler room, she learned to adapt to the environment, hide, and escape swiftly so nobody would notice her. She blended in like a chameleon. Work. Now we have Desmond, the shark. At this point, connections may become shorter and shorter, so I apologize for that. There's just not enough information for me to really connect it that hard. One thing I do want to note when it comes to sharks, though, is that they can sense blood. They can smell blood from far distances. The only thing I could see this relating to is him finding out about the blast doors and the red herring that was the taser gun. And also saying that Damon and him are not as different as they say or believe. Sharks are a symbol of power, survival, instinct, and a surprising amount of negative connotations, which seem to defy Desmond's just persona. In his free time events, he also calls himself an open book, implying that he doesn't swing to any side and that he's just... he'll take whatever you throw at him. He also notably stays fit and trains often, which could tie into early survival aspects, including how he made it to the Olympics. In his first free time event, he mentions that he does what he does for discipline. Damon recognizes this normalcy too. With this, his family has also held the ultimate marksman title for 3 years or more total. His great-great-grandpa was the ultimate marksman in 1933, followed by his grandma in 1963. That's the silent generation and boomers, or baby boomers. I could see his relaxed demeanor crashing out in the future of the chapter 2, maybe even preserving himself as much as he can to live on. Whether he'd be a killer or a victim, though, is anybody's guess. I can't really see him being either. I honestly think with the whole survival and instinct symbolism that he might actually be a survivor. But that, or he may die in a late, like very late, like the chapter before it recognizes the survivors. But like I said, it's anybody's guess. Now we have Eloise, the swan. Eloise's animal is the swan. Or Eloise, I don't know if there's an accent to it, but she does represent the swan, which symbolizes elegance, balance, grace, hard work, and wisdom. From some sources on the internet, they also say that in the Bible, they are said to be unclean birds. Skimming around some more throughout the cacophony we call the internet, they seem to be rumored to be creatures able to travel to other worlds. This sounds crazy, but I mean, it's still relevant in some way. In her free time events, Eloise explains how she was upset that nobody would practice with her for her fencing training. And because they were scared. Then she scared Damon with a threat, so that basically adds up. I could see her being a killer, but I'm also not too sure. Don't quote me on that. Not enough information to prove it. And we have Ava, the raven. Ava's animal is the raven, and if there's anything I know about ravens, or one thing I do know, is that they always remember humans who feed them. Even a bit of information down to timing, who was when and where, and the position of a single chair in gaming console. Her precision and ability to remember or withhold information is nuts, and more than anybody could have let her on for. She fooled everyone, including Damon. She exploited Damon's emotions in order to attempt framing him last minute, literally very last minute, like 5 hours in the trial. And if Kai's butterfly effect never brought him to the gaming tournament, he would have been framed, no matter what. Ravens are full of wisdom, and ancient wisdom, and bad omens, which could add up to her having the traitor perk, like her ties to the traitor perk. Pause this. Ingrid, the lion. Ingrid's symbol is the lion, full of strength, courage, and confidence. Lions are also apex predators. In the wild, of course. Again, I don't want YouTube to clap me in the face. Female lions are also very protective of their cubs, which you could see as Ingrid acting as a sister figure for the youngest in the cache, Toshiko. Outside of Wolfgang, Ingrid is also the one person she heavily trusted. Keep an eye on that. Lions are also fearless, and I can see this characteristic shining through in later chapters. And it kind of partially peeked through in chapter 1, so just keep an eye on that. Toshiko. Flamingo. Toshiko's animal is the flamingo, which symbolizes balance, elegance, and grace. Not grace, P-E-G, but just grace. She pushes his personality throughout the game. Despite being bullied for obtaining her ultimate talent at a young age, she persists and insists that she is deserving of her title. For someone so young to be part of the game, she has to balance the reality that people around her can kill and have killed. There's not much of a connection I can make aside from that. Excuse me. But they are very beautiful creatures, and you can maybe count that towards Toshiko seeing love as a beautiful thing. The color pink and all of that stuff. Grace, the rabbit. Grace's motif is a rabbit. Rabbits are speedy and can symbolize fertility, rebirth, and resurrection. Fertility and love are the qualities I'm seeing the most on multiple sources, so maybe she's more compassionate than she's letting on? Her behavior in the trial and while gatekeeping Wolfgang's room pushes this idea, including one of her jackets being on Wolfgang's floor. No, I am not implying they did anything or did a do or anything. I'm just implying that Grace is probably just a loving woman deep down, and she's like blocking those emotions off to protect herself. Because like rabbits have survival instincts too, despite being herbivores. I still feel bad for her to a degree though. And this is all I'm gonna do right now in terms of the most relevant characters in my theory. Which, I will say, every character is extremely relevant in their own ways. Just because I did these people for this time doesn't mean that I see these characters as more important than the rest. They just fit the animal symbolism more than I can really say for other characters at the moment. And I'm tired. And I have a life outside of YouTube. So, keep that in your brain. Speaking of, what is the main idea of the theory anyway? Simply put, my PEG animal symbolism theory is the idea that their selected animals hint towards the cast's character development and play a part in their overall actions in-game. I'm excited to see how all the characters play out in the future chapters. And although this theory may have not originated from me, or it may have not been spawned by me, and if it has, I'll genuinely be surprised because I feel like I'm the first person who's really saying anything about this. I could be completely wrong though, because I did see a video back in 2021, 2022. I want to show that up to other PGG fans that yes, other people are thinking what you're thinking, and we also know that the animals play some sort of significance. If this interests you, I will make a final part in due time. It may not be within the next 3 days. It may not even be within the next week, but just whenever I get to it and whenever I feel like it. Or depending on reception. Hope y'all enjoyed it. Stay creative. Peace.